Good morning and welcome to a celebration of our graduating class of 2024, the 158th class to graduate from Noble and Greenough School. Good morning. I'm Kathy Hall, head of school at Nobles, and I am thrilled to welcome you all here today to join together in celebrating this great class of 2024. I'm honored first to introduce our student co-presidents, Tahira Muhammad and Matthew Luce, our talented and inspiring student leaders who will welcome you to this very special day. Their leadership has made such a positive difference this year as they rallied our community around special events and moments. They led with tremendous kindness, humor, and humility. Thank you, Tahira and Matthew.
Families and friends, teachers and faculty, students from class 6 to 2, and most importantly, the class of 2024, welcome to graduation. I'm Matthew Luce.
And I'm Tahira Muhammad, and we have the honor to serve as the two co-presidents this year. We would like to start off by saying some important thank yous. Firstly, to parents, guardians, and families. As we sit here on the brink of a new chapter in our lives, we are extremely grateful for your unwavering support and boundless love that has brought us to this moment. I know I speak for our entire class when I say thank you for your encouragement and sacrifices that have been the bedrock of our journey.
Teachers, coaches, advisors, Flick staff, B&G, and everyone else who pours their heart into Nobles and every student here. Thank you for making this place a home these past years. We deeply appreciate the dedication, passion, and kindness you bring to Nobles.
And finally, to the class of 2024, thank you for the years of unforgettable memories. You all have been the heartbeat of the school for the last 9 months, and the reason why we love this place so much. It has been an incredible journey from the first weeks of middle school to these last days together.
As we reflected on our years here together, we realized how much we wanted one more perfect day, one last idealistic Nobles experience with the people that have made this place home. In my perfect day, I pull into the Omni parking lot at 7:23, just in time to get an omelet at breakfast. Unless there's a tragedy, my spot, first one on the left when you pull in, is open. And on the best days, I walk up the stairs to the castle with Gunther, Timmons, Chuck, or really anyone else to start our days together and play New York Times games over breakfast.
Unlike Matthew, and similar to some, the start of my perfect day begins at 7:50 when I'm questioning if I'll make it to assembly on time. The heavy breathing and sweat building on my forehead from the sprint I and plenty of others would run coming from North Lot to squeeze through those doors right at 7:59. Assembly is the heart of Nobles, where we start our days to share laughs, cries, and cheers with the same people sitting right beside us. Whether it's a beautiful piano piece, any version of Play That Random Instrument, a list ranking the best cheeses, or a Max and Quinn battle scene, the class of 24 has continuously fueled this space with our uniqueness and talents.
Next, a perfect day puts us in our favorite class. For me, that's in Shattuck 112 with Mr. Baker, a Nobles legend who challenges, inspires, and most importantly, deeply cares for his students. We discussed the reading, philosophy, and life, led by who Mr. Baker called the Big Three, Colin Levine, Clemmy Scherzer, and Derek Days. As you can imagine, discussions were very eventful. This class pushed me harder than any other, but I've never enjoyed and learned from a class more. As much as we all love days with as many frees as possible, the best classes are a staple of the best days.
As Matthew said, the best days are when we have frees, or better known as community time, a time to spend and build our community, a staple to our range of diversity. The infamous 9:35 to 10:40 block was a special time to meet in affinity spaces, attend clubs, and hang out with friends in the library. I would go to BSU to engage in a room full of students who looked like me. I would run up to the castle for a cooking club meeting to make gingerbread houses. I would sit in the right corner of the library, debriefing the latest tea with my closest friends. And then maybe, if there's time, do a little bit of studying.
A perfect day would also have to include way too much time on the beach, our version of a college quad, and way too many spike ball games. Hopefully, this starts with me staring longingly at my friends outside while I do work, before convincing myself I don't have to do it as I join the Suey Circle. I rotate from spike ball to bean a ball, essentially kicking a soccer ball really high, and yes, it's as fun as it sounds, to chilling in Adirondack chairs, soaking up both the sun and my surroundings, the best of the Nobles community.
And finally, at the end of this perfect day, we remove ourselves from all academic stress to go to the courts, the fields, or the stage to do what we love, surrounded by the people we love. It is in these moments of freedom to play and perform that our creativity and competitive nature surface to put on award-winning performances, compete for championships and world-class awards. It's the perfect end to our day, creating more memories and bonds that will last beyond all of this.
As we looked back on the day we had created, we realized how common it was. I won't go so far to say every day at Nobles is perfect, but to be honest, a lot get pretty close. As the perfect and near perfect and imperfect days come to an end, let's try and keep our perfect Nobles memories, and even more importantly, the imperfect ones, that make the Nobles experience more real and therefore even more incredible.
Now that our time comes to a close, let's carry forward the lessons we've learned, the friendships we've nurtured, and the memories we've cherished. Look to your left and to your right. All of us are taking this next step into the unknown, but remembering that these relationships will always be our guiding light to a path forward with warmth, laughter, and unwavering support. As Ms. G said in my final calculus class, our parents, teachers, and advisors have been the pace setters of this long race, but now is their time to step aside and off the track and let us continue on our own. The best is yet to come. And so I say to my classmates, congratulations on this momentous achievement. We've earned it.
I've never had to say a harder goodbye, so I thought I'd end with a quote. One that I say to myself in every hard goodbye. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Dr. Seuss. Although there will certainly be tears today, remember how lucky we all are to have spent these past years together. So, to the class of 2024, as we reminisce about our time at Nobles, let there be more smiles than frowns, more laughs than tears, and more see you laters than goodbyes. Thank you for everything. We'll see you all later.
Thank you, Tahira and Matthew. Last night, we honored some of our Class 1 students at our awards ceremony. Please stand when your name is called and remain standing, and please hold your applause until the end. The Alumni Prize for Excellence in History went to Colin Levine. The GL Bridge Award for Excellence in Ceramics to Graham Ellis. The Shillito Cup for Excellence in Photography to Hunter Patterson. The Scudder Medal for Excellence in Fine Arts to Woodiana Fevrier. The Bramall Bridge Art Purchase Prize went to Sophie Shelter, Mia Kim, Shannon Day, Caitlin Driscoll, Tahira G. Muhammad, Angelica Anusis, and Liam McCarthy. The Sheldon Prize for Excellence in Science went to Kate Way. The Greenough Prizes for Excellence in Mathematics to Alice Lynn. The Ep Sargent Dixwell Medal for Excellence in Latin to Alice Lynn. The Computer Science Prize to Danny Gallagher. The Little Memorial Essay Award for Creative Writing to Stephanie Pincus. The Little Memorial Essay Award for Literary Analysis to Sam Rudikoff. The Wiswell Prize for Excellence in English to Colin Levine. The Volkman Medal for Excellence in Modern Language to Colin Levine. The Volkman Medal for Excellence in French to Shannon Day. The Volkman Medal for Excellence in Spanish to Lauren Yoon. The Volkman Medal for Excellence in Mandarin to Joshua Levine. The Sidney L. Eaton Prize for Excellence in Theater to Zachary Green and Amelia Simons. The Peter Kearns and William Warren 77 Prize for Excellence in Technical Theater to Hermione Ariosoto, Karina Cruz, and Justice Hickman Mayard. The Nathaniel C. Nash 69 Award for Journalism to Joshua Levine. The Grandin Wise Award for Community Service to Pranav Govindarajan. The Reginald Davidson Music Prize to Maxwell Huang and Kevin Huang. The Dance Prize to Ashley Wang. The Edward L. Bond Prize for Academic Improvement to Giselle Rodriguez Rios. The Trustees Prizes for Scholarship to Sam Rudikoff and Kate Way. The Bradley D. Nash 1919 Medal for Executive Ability to Karina Cruz. The ISL Excellence Award to Macy Sweeney and Alan Rose. The Robert J. Agostini Award for Outstanding Athletic Contributions as a Non-Competitor to Sam Lee. The Davis Cup for Sportsmanship to Charlie Hall and Charlotte Hayward. The Noble Shield for Most Respected Student Athletes to Alistair Rose and Sophia Levering. The Public Speaking Award to Max Daniello and Giselle Rodriguez Rios. The James M. Ritvo 64 Award to the Kahila Class 1 Leadership of Joshua Levine and Asher Bernstein. The Russell B. Stearns Achievement Award to Giselle Rodriguez Rios, Woodyana Favrier, and Hermione Aria Soto. The Michelle Dufault 07 Award to Zachary Green. The Class of 98 Award, which was just given this morning in Assembly, to Michael Timmons. The Garrett Smith Miller Medal to Delaney Benavides. The Edward Stone Gleason Award for Academic Excellence to Heywan Suh. And the Head of School Prizes to Tahira Jean Muhammad and Owen Fitzsimmons. Please join me in giving these students a round of applause. Many of my important life chapters have been defined by a leap of faith, both leaps of faith others have made in me and leaps of faith I've made in myself. I can remember a few times early in my career when a school took what felt like a big leap of faith in me, asking me to take on a role I felt wildly ill-equipped to do. I assumed they must have believed I had more competence than I did, and I suffered from a serious case of inferiority complex, imposter syndrome. In each case, when I voiced my fears, the reply was some version of, "You'll figure it out." And figure it out I did, with all of the predictable bumps along the way. Over the course of my life, I've learned through these leaps of faith that it's not only okay, but essential to admit when I do not know something, and to embrace inevitable mistakes without fear of being labeled as incompetent. I've learned how to ask for help by tapping into relationships with those eager to offer mentorship and guidance. The leaps of faith by those who saw potential in me ultimately shifted the potential I saw in myself. Noble and Greenough School made its own great leap of faith in 1921, when Charles Wiggins, Noble's third head of school, moved our school from its home in Boston to our current home here in Dedham. Within months of beginning his new job in 1920, Charles Wiggins realized that Noble's had a big problem on its hands, as dwindling enrollment was presenting an emerging crisis for the school. Wiggins attributed the enrollment problem to subpar facilities that significantly compromised the program and our competitiveness among Boston schools. It was clear that status quo was not an option for survival of our very young and vulnerable Noble and Greenough School. Just a few months in as the new head of school, Wiggins shared with the board of trustees what he saw as three clear choices. The first was to try to make the current building work as well as possible and just hope things turned around somehow. It's a pretty bleak option. The second was to put up a new building on a nearby field, but given the small footprint, however, this would permanently cap Noble's enrollment at 100 students. Then there was the third option, the one Wiggins saw as our best and only real option. It was the leap of faith option. Wiggins wrote to the Board of Trustees in his very first board report in 1920, quote, "The third scheme is ambitious and would require considerable financial backing to be launched successfully, and this can only be had if the trustees and alumni are determined to have Nobles continued. The scheme would involve the procuring of land on the outskirts of Boston to be arrived at by train, electric car, or motor bus, and which will offer all the advantages of the present boarding school and its outdoor arrangements," end quote. Imagine how daunting that decision must have been at the time, to jeopardize the school's very existence with the hope that the right leap of faith could save it. And here we are today, proof that Wiggins' intuition was spot on. So why am I sharing these stories with you today? I believe there is great power in embracing a leap of faith mentality, one that is increasingly challenged by the high stakes I know teenagers feel surround them, where any potential failure suggests lasting and irreparable consequences. I want to challenge you to resist this myth and to instead embrace your upcoming leaps of faith, both the successful ones and the total flops. A leap of faith does not imply flying by the seat of your pants, nor does it suggest you're taking on an irresponsible risk where you just close your eyes and jump blindly ahead. The key word here is faith, a belief and clarity about who you are and what you're capable of becoming and doing. The leap is not running away from who we are, but instead moving toward it, along with our potential. This faith also entails a firm conviction that we will be okay, even if our leap falls short. Each leap of faith matters equally, and none are mistakes, even those that fail. These seemingly failed leaps are only different in that what they teach us about what the next leap might need to be from there. But it was still the right leap at the right time. Several years ago, someone from Stanford's Challenge Success spoke to Noble's parents and guardians about the myth of the straight line, a story that's really stuck with me. He explained how teenagers often believe that major life events all fall in a straight upward moving line, where good middle school grades lead to good upper school grades, which leads to the right college, which leads to the right job, which of course leads to ultimate happiness, right? That straight line logic would suggest that if your middle school grades fall short in any way, the rest of the line and your life's happiness is permanently lost. Well, that's obviously a bleak picture, and of course we know that's not how life actually works. Ask any adult, especially those you consider most successful and happiest, and they will tell you a story about a zigzagging lifeline, one where dots were a scattergram, above and below, and only sometimes on that line. Now, of course, I know you rationally agree with me, but I also know the reality that falling off that line at any point instills a lot of fear that the trajectory of that line and that upward path it promises are irrevocably changed. I know all the messages you get on a daily basis push against taking leaps of faith and encourage doing what you can to ensure you stay on that straight line. One of my greatest fears for you, in fact, is that you try to stay on that straight line. And I worry you believe that the only way to ensure you stay on it is to avoid making any mistakes. One of my favorite Broadway musicals is Dear Evan Hansen, and one of my favorite songs from that musical is Words Fail, a deeply moving song where Evan faces some of his hard life truths. Ben Platt's character sings, and you are welcome for my not actually singing this, I learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. If you're slamming on the brake before you even turn the key, you're denying yourself so much of what life and leaps of faith are all about. A straight line life is an unfulfilled one. It prevents a lifelong process of discovery, one where the failures become far outshadowed by the purpose-driven life you will find, one where you seek out the opportunity to leap whether you land on the line or not. It's through your leaps where you unlock your potential to do good in the world, and through your leaps where you find the fulfillment you're ultimately after in life. I recently heard a graduation talk given by Buffalo Bills trainer Danny Kellington. You likely recall the heroic moment during the 22-23 NFL season when Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin was hit in the chest and immediately collapsed on the field. He was quickly tended to by athletic trainers who saved his life. Danny Kellington played a pivotal role that day. During Kellington's commencement address, he said, quote, "All the attention I've received for simply doing my job has been overwhelming. I've said repeatedly that I am not a hero, but I will tell you what I was that day. I was ready. When unexpected doors open or life changes course, trust that your experiences have led you there and you will be ready," end quote. One clear truth I know about each of you in the class of 2024 is that you are ready. You are ready for the hundreds of leaps of faith that will await you, including the first one you will make as you depart from this tent and become Noble's graduates. You are also ready for the many successes and failures and life-changing experiences these leaps of faith will provide you. I hope you will take those leaps knowing you are never alone and that the power of your Noble's connections endures. You will always be supported by Noble's faculty who have invested in and celebrate your inspiring growth and endless potential. You will always be buoyed by Noble's classmates who will be your lifetime friends. And you will always be welcomed here to our beloved Noble's campus whenever you need to come home. So take your leaps of faith, all of them, knowing that you are ready and that we are here always. Thank you. We next will be privileged to hear a beautiful rendition of our school song, Noble and Strong, by the First Class Ensemble.
Today we honor our tradition, face the future as we learn from the past. We make integrity our mission, everything's changing fast. We won't let differences divide us, now and ever we're together as one. We represent the world outside us, shine like tomorrow's sun. Raise the chorus, now let's join in the song. Many voices ever blending, all together we are noble and strong, and in our hearts our song is never ending. We have found where we belong. We find our strength in one another, lead each other to be all we can be. A friend, a sister, or a brother, building community. This is where we connect, where we celebrate truth and self-respect. Open up and rejoice. Now we found our voice. Raise the chorus, now let's join in the song. Many voices ever blending, all together we are noble and strong, and in our hearts our song is never ending. We are there when honor needs defending, everywhere our spirit is ascending. We have found where we belong.
Thank you for that beautiful rendition of our school song. It's now my privilege to present this year's Vernon L. Green Award for Faculty Excellence. It was established in 1982 by David Arnold of the class of 1940 in honor of Vernon Green, who for many years and many people embodied faculty excellence. The award is presented annually to a member of the faculty who encourages and nurtures academic excellence within the school, whose pedagogy is distinguished, and whose commitment to students is thorough. I'm going to announce this person and ask them to come stand here incredibly uncomfortably while I read great things about them. I'm honored to present the 2024 Vernon L. Green Award for Faculty Excellence to Kate Blake. If you asked me to describe what the absolute best version of a multifaceted educator can be, someone who invests in the well-being and successes of their students in classrooms, on fields, on stages, and in hallways. Kate Blake epitomizes it all. At the absolute top of her game as an English teacher, she's also an incredibly talented coach, a fearless leader across all domains of our school, and an educator who is deeply passionate about the well-being of her students. Upper School Director of Studies Shannon Clark reflects, quote, Kate Blake is quite simply a megawatt superstar of a teacher coach. Sorry. She is the whole deal. She has the biggest heart for teenagers of any teacher I know, and she has the wisdom, experience, and indomitable spirit to drive 2 varsity programs, one of which she willed into being by the formidable force of her own passion and determination to make it so, end quote. Kate's impact in the English classroom is tremendous, whether she's working with 12-year-olds or 18-year-olds. She exudes a joy for her craft and a simultaneous inspiring confidence in what her students are capable of doing. English Department Chair Jessica Brennan reflects, quote, her enthusiasm for literature sets her classes on fire, and her deep belief in her students lifts them to heights they didn't know existed, end quote. Shannon Clark also notes that, quote, as a literary scholar, Kate is a heavyweight, and she's proven not only her depth and breadth of content knowledge, but also the flexibility of her craft. She has somehow mastered the art of keeping both fall semester 60s and spring semester seniors fully engaged in the hard work of reading with attention and writing with purpose, end quote. Kate's tenacity, talent, and optimism were perhaps on best display when she founded our track and field team in 2018. Director of Athletics Alex Gallagher shares, quote, having the vision to start a track and field program from nothing is one thing. It is very different to make it a reality. That is precisely what Kate has done. In just 6 years, she built a program with nearly 80 student athletes, many of whom won championships this spring. Her passion for the sport and commitment to her athletics are second to none. Lastly, she's done this without a track and field facility. It's nothing short of remarkable, end quote. As if that investment of time and care were not enough, Kate took over our girls varsity cross-country team this fall, which means that there are now over 100 Noble students fortunate enough to be coached by Kate Blake. If I asked anyone who knows Kate well to describe her, the words kind, optimistic, talented, and energizing would undoubtedly be somewhere near the top of their list. Kate is simply an exceptional colleague, someone you count on to leave you feeling better for any interaction you have with her. Her warmth is radiant, as is her positivity. Classics and Spanish teacher and boys varsity cross-country coach Dave Ulrich reflects, quote, Kate's energy infuses all around her with the desire and the confidence to excel. Her students, her runners, and her colleagues can always count on Coach Blake to lift them up when they're low and to help them soar when they are ready, end quote. Jessica Brennan provides a beautiful way of capturing the impact of Kate on our community. Quote, Kate Blake lives the concept of team. She's generous in all ways, sharing her time, her ideas, and maybe best of all, her energy with everyone, students and faculty alike. There's nothing quite like a Kate Blake pep talk. After 30 seconds in her presence, you leave energized, optimistic, and believing not only you can, but you will. Day after day, in the classroom, in the hallways, on the trails, and on the track, Kate Blake shows us what's possible when we really believe that the whole, the team, is greater than the sum of its parts, end quote. It is my true honor to present this year's Vernon Green Award to Kate Blake. Every spring, Class 1 students elect a faculty graduation speaker, someone who has made a unique impact on their Nobles experience and whose wisdom and guidance they seek on this important day. This year's selection, Shannon Clark, is a simply fantastic choice, as so many in this class have benefited from her excellence in teaching, coaching, advising, and academic leadership. Shannon, very sadly, is moving on from Nobles after this year, as Hotchkiss is lucky to welcome her as their new Dean of Faculty. I will miss her a great deal as a colleague and friend, and I very much look forward to hearing Shannon Clark's remarks today.
You seniors are making me nervous up here. Thank you, Dr. Hall. Good morning, And welcome to the wonderful graduating class of 2024, and to the parents, families, and close friends here to celebrate you. To my colleagues and those on the dais with me, thank you for all you have done to nurture and support this year's seniors in their journey to this momentous milestone. On April 16th, I learned from Dr. Hall that the class of 2024 had selected me to be their faculty graduation speaker, an honor that humbled, inspired, and terrified me in equal measure. While not a stranger to public speaking, I do not consider myself a great writer. Writing is really hard. And one thing I can tell you now from experience, writing a graduation speech is harder than grading Class 1 English essays. It's harder than training for and running a 5K or a 10K or a 13.1 mile race. I don't know if it's harder than running a marathon, which at this point, let's face it, I'll probably never do. But if I did, I bet writing this graduation speech was harder. Writing this speech was definitely harder than teaching countless, wonderful, wide-eyed young readers and writers over the last 29 years. That's just been fun. Frankly, I'd wager that writing this speech was harder than writing any essay I've assigned to about half of you scholars lined up on either side of me. And so, honored as I was by your choosing me to speak, two questions keep circling in my mind. One, is this payback? And two, will this speech be graded? There is one thing I can think of that's harder than writing a graduation speech: living a worthy life. And if you'll forgive me a few digressions and metaphors along the way, living a worthy life is what I'd like to talk to you about today. Part 1, my life's work, or what I wanted to be when I grew up. Those of you whom I've taught and advised know that I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Not the striving, cosmopolitan metropolis of Seattle, but the sleepy, provincial, small city of Spokane, Washington, about 20 minutes west of the Idaho Panhandle. 3 of my grandparents never went to college, and my maternal grandfather, a wise, athletic, kind-hearted man named George, completed his formal education at the end of 8th grade. My parents and all of my aunts and uncles stayed in-state for college, and all eventually returned to Spokane to pursue their careers and raise their families. I was incredibly blessed, though, to have a mother and father who, with perfectly naive faith, told me I could be whoever I wanted when I grew up. And so began my search for my life's purpose. I would love to be able to tell you that I've always known I wanted to be a teacher, that I pursued this career with laser focus, but it wouldn't be true. That's someone else's story. Here's a bit of mine, because some of you have told me you're curious to know. When I was a little girl in the 1970s, one outgrowth of the Cold War between the US and Soviet Union was the space race. As the Apollo project began to wind down and the first space shuttle flights began in 1981, I was getting straight A's in my grade school and junior high science classes. And I could think of no goal more lofty than to become the 3rd woman astronaut in space. 2 Soviets, Valentina Tereshkova and Svetlana Savitskaya, beat me to it. My parents backed me 100%. I was on my way to the moon. By early high school, though, I started doubting. My parents told me not to worry about the money, that my job was to get good grades and get into the college of my dreams, and they would figure out the rest. But I realized I was going to need some serious scholarships. I was still doing well in my science and math classes, and I remember thinking, maybe I should go into engineering. Engineers make good money, have steady jobs with retirement programs, and maybe I could go into aeronautics. Shannon Clark, aeronautical engineer. It had a sexy ring to it. Then I learned about the military academies. I discovered if I got in, I could get my undergraduate degree for free. I could become a fighter pilot and maybe work my way into the NASA program that way. What an adventure that would be. Then, the summer before my sophomore year, I got glasses. My eyes got more myopic and my prescriptions stronger every 6 months, it seemed. Back then, you needed perfect vision to enter the fighter pilot programs in the Air Force and Navy. I decided to let that dream go. During those same years, though, I discovered the many places I could go, real and imagined, through books. To wean me off the horrible Harlequin romances I was devouring in junior high, my mother pulled an old dusty copy of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights off her shelf. She was an English major in college and taught high school for 3 or 4 years before I was born. She said, "You want romance? Give this one a try." And oh my God. Heathcliff and Catherine, their torrid, toxic, totally dysfunctional love affair, had me hooked from page 1. Then came Hemingway's star-crossed, war-scarred lovers in A Farewell to Arms and For Whom the Bell Tolls. By this point, in my high school English classes, from Shakespeare to Dostoevsky, Sophocles to Tennessee Williams, John Donne to Gwendolyn Brooks, I started to see that the great poets, novelists, and playwrights of every civilization write to make sense of the work of living. They tell stories to find where the meaning lies, and many of their most flawed characters are simply struggling to figure out how to live a worthy life. So by then I found my own life's purpose, right? Wrong. Over the next years, I continued to try on new career dreams for size. I'd played the piano since I was 5, competitively through junior high, high school, and college. Maybe I'd become a concert pianist. But I ultimately tired of all those hours in cramped practice rooms. And let's be honest, there were probably tens of thousands of young aspiring pianists out there with better technique, larger repertoires, and way more drive than I had. By the end of college, classmates all around me were hustling through corporate recruiting or rushing off to get their MDs or MBAs or PhDs, and I started to think, there is something very wrong with me. Was I a hopeless dreamer, totally lacking in the pragmatism and grit that would carry me toward a successful professional life? Or worse, was I just a lazy procrastinator? I should have specialized sooner, tailored my undergraduate coursework to some lucrative career path or prestigious postgrad program. I knew I loved to read and that I would, as a decent analytical writer, maybe I'd go to law school. I proposed this new idea to my Uncle Ned, a wicked smart, successful partner in a law firm who was also my godfather, a man I admired and feared in equal measure. I'll never forget the wise question he posed me during my senior year of college. Jesus, Shannon, why the hell would you want to be a lawyer? I had no idea. Shannon L. Clark, Esquire? It sounded pretty good. With all due respect to the attorneys out there in the audience, this wasn't the first or last time I think Uncle Ned saved my life. At this point, I'd been trying to find my life's purpose for at least 10 years, and it's taken me about 7 minutes of my speech to tell you about my string of half-starts and failed attempts. Suffice it to say, at some point, after working in development for a while, living in Rome for a year, and eventually dropping out of a PhD program in comparative literature, I decided to give high school teaching a try. And you know what? It stuck. Almost exactly 16 years ago, with 1 year of teaching at Noble's under my belt, I heard for the first time the words of advice that former Noble's headmaster Bob Henderson used to give every spring in the last assembly. While the message was geared to underclassmen eager for summer vacation, I confess I felt more than once that he was speaking directly to me. His urgent plea went something like this: go do something unexpected this summer. Try new things. Meet new people. Next fall, you have the priceless opportunity to try on a new you. Don't be trapped by who you've been or who other people seem to think you are. Learn how to reinvent yourself so you can do it again and again throughout your life. If you listen to nothing else in this speech, please hear this. You are the one who decides, minute by minute, month by month, and year by year, what living a worthy life is. Is the work you do, are the relationships you build, are the skills you hone, bringing you more than an impressive degree, good money, a great title, a nice home and car? Are they worthy pursuits in your own eyes? Trying to do the thing or be the person whom others expect you to be may give you purpose in the short term, but ultimately, it will leave you feeling less than full, less than satisfied. Part 2. I will leave you with a few precepts I've gathered over the years as a teacher of writing, because what each of you seniors is really setting out to do is to write the great narrative of your life. Precept 1, be humble and embrace what you don't know. Go out and do your research. Live large and read the world around you avidly. Precept 2, be bold and ask questions with no obvious answers. Listen to the words and stories of others and practice a healthy skepticism. Ask, how might I test this opinion or that idea to see whether it be true? Go back and dig into the great text of your life to find the evidence you'll need to answer life's big questions. Precept 3, be intellectually agile, and don't be afraid to execute a thrilling about face. Sometimes you need to write 60 or 70 or 80% of the essay before you finally figure out what you really believe and really need to say. Precept 4, if it's worth doing well. Go after the big question or the hard skill or elusive goal with your wholehearted mind. Strive to know the value and satisfaction of the work through every misstep, every dead end, every crappy rough draft. Trust that the process of writing and rewriting your life will yield rich insight and lasting rewards. Learn to relish the joy in the journey. And don't be too caught up in the ultimate destination. Epilogue. Don't worry so much about your title. You'll have a bunch of them. Don't try to force the thesis. Go out and live the messy, contradictory, thrillingly unpredictable adventure that is your life. Go ahead and do your research. Read widely. Listen to your Uncle Ned's, to the sages you admire. Try out a bunch of possible beginnings. Once you find your thesis, pour everything you've got into developing your argument. But when life delivers you new evidence or a compelling counter-argument, don't be too proud or too beholden to your own foolish consistency to do an about-face. Seniors, go read Emerson on self-reliance if you didn't catch that allusion. The best thesis is revised again and again. The writing is going to be hard. That's one thing I can promise. But don't outsource the work to anyone else. It's your story. And remember, always write your title last. Now, one final exercise for the class of 2024. I'd like you to repeat the following 2 sentences after me. I'm serious. I am unfinished. I am untitled. One more time, unapologetically, with conviction. I am unfinished. I am untitled. While you relish this liberating electric current of possibility coursing through you, know that we, your teachers, your parents and guardians, your aunts, uncles, grandparents, and mentors, believe in you. We love you. And we are avidly awaiting your next chapter because we know it's going to be a page turner. Congratulations to the wonderful class of 2024, and may Apollo and all of the 9 muses bless your life's work.
Thank you, Shannon, for those poignant, insightful, and moving words. Now for our student speakers. Each year, the graduating class elects 2 student speakers who can represent the sentiments of the overall class and whose leadership and character have represented the class of 2024 proudly. This year, those speakers are Amelia Simons and Grant Richmond. I look forward to hearing both of their remarks. We will first hear from Amelia, followed by Grant.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clark, for those words. I think I speak for all of us when I say, we adore you. Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking and acknowledging a few people. To my family, thank you so much for being here. I love you, and you mean everything to me. To my friends, I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you. And since I definitely don't have time to thank all of my wonderful teachers, I will just thank those who have helped me with this speech, and I will find the rest of you after in the receiving line. Miss Brennan, Mr. Baker, Miss Easterling, Dr. Hall, Miss Pratt, and Miss Traggart, thank you all so much for helping me finish my last Nobles assignment. I took Miss Brennan's English class this spring. The difference between a struggle and a challenge is connection. Miss Brennan let that statement hang in the air for a minute after she said it. Our class focused on the works of E.M. Forster, whose call to readers across all of his novels is to connect. Connect with ourselves, with the world around us, and with each other. We spent almost an entire 70-minute-long class period discussing the phrase that opens his novel, Howard's End, only connect, which now you're probably thinking, that's probably too long to discuss 2 words. It was. The full quote reads, only connect, and human love will be seen at its height. It's a wonderful piece of advice, but then you have to learn how to connect, and that is a much different story. My name is Amelia Simons, and I am so honored to have been chosen to speak by my amazing classmates. You are the most talented, most accomplished group of people, and I'm so proud to be here with you today. When I was in 8th grade in Nobles Middle School, I signed up for singing lessons. Like everyone in those awkward middle school years, I was incredibly insecure, and I was terrified. Terrified to sound bad, terrified of making a mistake, terrified of what the other kids would think. In my first lesson, my teacher wanted me to try to sing a piece of jazz music. And I sang all the right lyrics, I hit all the right notes, but at the end, my teacher seemed dissatisfied. She said, I think you have an ear for music that you're not using. I want you to improvise. I was confused. But I don't know how to improvise. She responded with, I think you can figure it out. So I tried. And it was going pretty well, too. Right up until I sang too high and my voice cracked. I was so embarrassed that I stopped singing. My teacher noticed and turned to ask me why I stopped. But in my head, the answer was obvious. I'd made a mistake, and I was humiliated. When I told her this, she actually started to laugh. Why are you only focusing on the 1 second you made a mistake? For the other 3 minutes of the song, you sounded good. You sounded good, Amelia. You're going to learn how to improvise. And I think about that lesson a lot. I tried, and I failed, and it was embarrassing. But I learned that my teacher genuinely believed in me. And it convinced me that I didn't want to stop singing, even when I made mistakes. Today, many of the musical choices I make are based on those studies of jazz improvisation. My entire singing career at this school, every assembly performance, every musical, every show I have been blessed to be a part of, stems from that moment of vulnerability, where I messed up and ended up gaining a deeper connection to myself and to music than ever before. And then a lot changed after 8th grade, especially after COVID shut down our school and the world around us. So about a year after that first voice lesson, I was a freshman in the castle with nowhere to sit for lunch. On one side of the room, I saw 2 girls wearing masks, who I only vaguely recognized, eating together. The rest of the room was empty. So I had 2 options: try to sit with those girls or eat lunch alone. Given that I'm telling you this story, you can probably guess I sat with the girls. And it was one of the most awkward experiences of my entire life. But if you told my class 4 self that I'd be having weekly dinners come senior year with Stephanie and Delaney, she would never have believed you. I'm so grateful for that lunch and the connections that it brought me, because it taught me to embrace those uncomfortable, awkward moments and led to one of the best parts of my entire Nobles experience. For those of you who don't know, after the closing night of a Nobles show or musical, everyone from the cast, crew, and band gets together to celebrate all of the work we put in. It was almost 10 p.m. when I showed up to the cast party for Mean Girls, and everyone was exhausted. As a quick side note, anyone who tries to tell you that doing a musical is not physical activity has never danced and sang at the same time for 3 hours straight, nor have they ever had to do a quick change in under 30 seconds while wearing high heels, which was arguably harder than some of the APs I took. Everyone was sitting at separate tables, and we were eating quietly, and music played in the background, but no one was really listening until a certain song came on. And within seconds, 100 kids had packed themselves in the middle of the dance floor. We were overtired, hot, dancing, and in the middle of it all was Zachary Green, standing on a chair as the crowd swarmed around him, screaming the lyrics at the top of his lungs. And then suddenly I was screaming too. And so were the people next to me, and the whole thing was very chaotic, but what I remember about it was the intense messiness of it all. We live in a world that praises perfection, but pretending to be perfect doesn't teach anyone anything about you. Perfect is unrealistic. Perfect is boring. It's moments like that cast party where I can see you and you can see me, completely unfiltered, not trying to be too cool, not pretending that we don't care about things we really care about. It's moments like that that show ourselves and each other that we are human. We're alive. Scream that you love something and watch how the right people scream with you. Be messy and watch how the right people stay. I took Mr. Baker's English elective in Shattuck 112. During any other class, Shattuck 112 has 6 rectangular tables and 2 rows of 3 desks each. But in Mr. Baker's class, this was not the case. 4 out of every 7 days, the 8 of us pushed the tables into the center of the room until they knocked up against each other, and only then would we begin. So for most, Shattuck 112 has 6 tables. For us, it had 1. By the time we were reading our final English book, Chimera, we had lovingly nicknamed our class Mr. Baker's dining room table. With Chimera, we talked a lot about how often life repeats itself. Our first day of kindergarten is repeated in our first day of high school, is repeated in our first day of college, and each event builds on the one before it. I think it's the same way for connections. Big, important moments, weddings, birthdays, this graduation, they're only possible because of those small moments of connection. Showing up and taking chances. Sitting with people you don't really know. Showing the world who you are and who you want to be. So hold that door for someone, or wave at someone you don't know well, or just smile, because lifetimes are built on connections that we make every day. It was sitting around the dining room table in a Baker English class when I realized that the world is built on the connections we have forged. The world is built on moments of vulnerability, discomfort, risk, messiness, and imperfection. The world is built on the time we spend around our own dining room tables. Congratulations to the class of 2024. I love you all dearly.
Hi, everyone. For all of you that haven't met me, or might have forgotten, my name is Grant Richmond, and I am so excited and thoroughly grateful that I am representing our 2024 class. It is an absolute honor to be able to look out and see all the incredible faces that make our Nobles community glow. I want to begin by thanking all the people in my life who have impacted me. From my years as an admittedly strange kid, to my days now as a still pretty weird adult. Thanks for sticking it out. Without your trust and support, I would not be who I am today. I don't say this enough, but my two younger sisters, Ruby and Juniper, are especially inspiring to me. They're growing up to become two incredible people, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. As for my parents, look what you guys made. Pretty awesome. To the Nobles community, I sincerely hope my class has shown how grateful we are to have lived and learned under your guidance. And if not, let me use this opportunity to officially say that one and all of you have played a role in making us who we are today. Your passion and readiness to come and interact with us all year round is absolutely infectious. You all are Nobles. Thank you. I'm excited to share some stories with you all today. Like many of my fellow classmates, my first memories as a Nobles student were not, in fact, in its halls, but rather on a Zoom in my bedroom. To say I was an awkward freshman would be an understatement. I embodied that awkwardness. My first significant memory at Nobles exemplifies my clumsy interactions with the school pretty well. Let me paint the scene. It was mid-fall, and I had gotten to know a few of my classmates, even making some friends I would text with outside of school. Also, having joined third soccer, I had begun working out in my spare time to be a bit more fit with the crowd. For some reason, I only really worked out my arms. The only part of the body you may be surprised to hear isn't often used when playing soccer. But I was seeing some progress and was admittedly pretty proud that mild bumps were growing on my biceps. Still, pretty much all of my conversations were either through a screen or muffled beneath a mask, only exasperating that early teen awkwardness. At this specific moment, I was on a Zoom call in my geometry class, where we were discussing a test we had taken the class prior. I was distracted the entire time, trying to figure out how noticeable my biceps were when I wasn't flexing. Yeah, sorry, Miss Dolan. Realizing that the only way to see a difference was by comparing my arms flexed versus unflexed, I asked to use the bathroom so that I could check them out in privacy. I opened FaceTime Preview, where I could properly check that progress, flashed a few poses before hearing a classmate mid-sentence begin to laugh. My stomach dropped. I quickly reopened Zoom to see my own face in pure shock looking back at me. To make matters worse, my arm was still frozen in a curl position like this. For all my classmates grinning and laughing to see. Without a word, I shut off my camera and sat there in absolute silence. But then something incredible happened. The terror and embarrassment I initially felt began to disperse. In its place, I found laughter. I sheepishly turned on my camera again, realizing that, although embarrassing, the acknowledgement from my peers was not malicious, but encouraging. Before I begin my next story, I've got to confess something. Yes, I'm a theater kid. And yes, I'm proud of it. But I was not always confident about who I was in the Nobles Theater Collective, NTC for short. In sophomore year, I decided to audition for the fall play, realizing that third soccer was not, in fact, for me. Entering this new space, I was surrounded by a group of passionate actors and technicians, a dauntingly talented community in comparison to the one semester introduction to acting course I had taken as high school experience. This is all to say I was shy in those first weeks of rehearsal, convincing myself that my limited acting exposure made me an outlier in the NTC. When the cast was asked to meet one-on-one over a weekend to practice lines, I remember learning in terror that I was matched with a talented senior. That Saturday, I anxiously picked up Alejandra Mendez's FaceTime call, mumbling a quick hello before we began practicing our lines. By the time we had finished reciting, I assumed she would just hang up. Instead, Alejandra began asking me my thoughts on the fall play, initiating a conversation. From there, we talked for 2 more hours, our topics ranging from dumb jokes to a heartfelt discussion on entering and leaving Nobles communities. By the time we said our goodbyes, I felt a level of acceptance I'd never experienced before. From that day onward, Alejandra and I would greet each other anytime we crossed paths, our relationship encouraging me to reach out to other cast members. Soon enough, I felt at home at the NTC in a way I never had at Nobles. It's wild to think that one conversation could have such an impact on someone. But when I look back, there is no doubt that that moment was when I knew I was part of the NTC. As with the rest of my classmates, I have been taking semester-long English electives this fall and spring. During my fall semester, I took a class with Miss Brennan, a teacher who I have looked up to endlessly throughout my high school years. During that fall, Stephanie Pincus and I would take any opportunity to lag behind after class and chat with her about, well, stuff. Pretty much anything we had on our mind, ranging from ideas from our reading to discussions about our own families. Miss Brennan took that time to listen and respond to us, often spending 15 or 20 minutes talking about whatever was relevant that day. It was her ability to reach past our allotted class period and connect that was so special. In fact, it was pretty common for her to end our discussions by promptly announcing that if she stayed any longer, she would be late to her next obligation before doing a hybrid dash walk out of the class. I can't speak for Stephanie, but those conversations were some of the highlights of my senior year. Similar to Alejandra, Miss Brennan sacrificed her own time to get to know us, allowing conversations to go on in a way that felt so uniquely personal. Miss Brennan is one of those teachers who has touched so many lives that it is an absolute cliche to say that she has an impact on my own. But that doesn't make it any less true. It is evident in the classes she teaches, the discussions she harbors, and the anecdotes she adds that she is incredibly passionate about what she does. Even with countless students under her guidance, Miss Brennan gave me a semester's worth of conversations that made me feel welcome to chat with her long after that class ended. as our class's last year comes to an end, I've been saying goodbye to all the spectacular things Nobles contains. If I had hours over minutes, I would list off every person, memory, and location that I hold close to my heart. And yet, that recognition Nobles supplies is what I will miss the most. Whether it's the laughter of an embarrassing mistake, a conversation in an unlikely place, or discussions with a teacher who cares deeply about her students, these acknowledgments are the points when I know I am part of something bigger than myself. I want to end this speech by giving some of that recognition back to my own class. You all are the assembly sneezers, the spike ball pros, the cheese rankers, the ovation givers, the movie makers, but most importantly, you are the class of 2024. That, in of itself, is something to be proud of. If you haven't had a moment to realize your individual importance in this community, let me say, one and all of you are shining members of this school. I sincerely hope you know it. Thank you all, and happy graduation.
Thank you, Amelia and Grant, for your fantastic remarks on behalf of your class. Next up, you will hear a beautiful rendition of the song Sunday by the First Class Ensemble. going to miss so many of the incredibly talented musicians out of this class of 2024. So now I have the privilege, along with Dean of Student Engagement Mark Spence, of awarding the members of this great class of 2024 their diplomas. After receiving their diplomas, graduates will be congratulated by President of the Board of Trustees, John Montgomery, from Noble's class of '83, as they return to their seats.
Good morning. Chinua Kenena Sean Achabe. Patrick James Albers. Colin Izimo Anderson. Angelica Maria Anusas. Hermione Naomi Aria Sotos. Nicholas Frederick Padilla. Kristen Victoria Balzer. Elizabeth Ernest Batchelder. Delaney Alexia Piper Benavides. Ella Mariah Berger. Asher Samuel Bernstein. Aiden Zoka Bina. Cole Benson Block. Tyler Scott Bloomfield. Sophia Anna Bronco. Alan Chung-Sung Kai. Christopher Roland Capone. Forrest Walter Carson. Riggs Catlin. Valentina Kosikachuku Chuku. Timothy Dewey Churchill. Ali Malik Coleman. Antonio Luca Cosentino. Karina Isabel Cruz. Maxwell Guy Daniello. Shannon Michaela Day. Derek Days. Addison Amaya Dean. Caitlin Shea Driscoll. Mara Shayna Dubois. Julia Elizabeth Durfee. Graham Richard Ellis. William Barrett Emery. Angela Sher Fenn. Woodiana Fevrier. Owen Sweeney Fitzsimmons. Daniel Michael Gallagher. Rohan Gao. Eliana Lauren Gates. Logan Olivia Gibbons. Pranav Govindarajan. Ainsley Elkins Gray. Devin McAvoy Gray. Zachary James Green. Jonathan Grinion. Jameson Leith Griswold. Christian Thomas Grosso. Eason Gu. Valerie Belen Guadron Tolosa. Benjamin Owen Gunther. Shivani Dayel Gulati. Ali Yutian Guo. Charles Noonan Hall. Charlotte Bliss Harris. Charlotte Christine Hayward. William Ryan Kishi Hess. Justice Patrick Hickman Mayard. Andrew William Higgins. Kevin Kaiwen Huang. Maxwell Aojian Wong. Amir Christopher Pyers Jamal. Tahira Amaya Jean Muhammad. Caroline Alicia Jennings. Simonis Justinis Yaknalis. George Robert Kasparian. Mia Song Kim. Irini Zoe Kolovos. Madeline Rose Krepelka. Sophia Claire Lee. Sophia Fulton Levering. Colin Lawrence Levine. Joshua Bard Levine. Samuel Lee. Aiden Ethan Lin. Alice Lin. Megan Griffith Lober. Matthew Rittenhouse Luce. Brooke Ann Lukasevich. Ashley Bingyang Law. Madeline Wells MacDonald. Olivia Andrea Maffeo. Liam Patrick McCarthy. Catherine Meriwether McLean. Emma Grace McNeely. Peter Christopher Nizelik. Grace Elizabeth Oliver. Caden William O'Neill. Sebastian Ortiz. Ben Uwusu Amo. George Quinn Papendick. Hunter Clark Patterson. Mian Pham. Sheehan Jason Pierre-Louis. Isaiah Sergi Pierre. Stephanie Marie Pincus. Caroline Wayland Plotner. Hudson Scott Poirier. Brian Chi. Jade Ua Chen. Jerry Ua Chin. Shrise Kunam Reddy. Caldwell Ian Reynolds. Grant Westcott Richmond. Giselle Rosario Rodriguez Rios. Alan Douglas Rose III. Alistair Duval Rose. Sam Alson Rudikoff. Catherine Alice Rutledge. Christopher Kenyon Ryan. Sophie Rose Shelter. Clemens Jeet Scherzer. Louisa Ann Seaman. Corbin Mitchell Shee. Nasiha Amani Simmons. Amelia Kate Simons. Jordan Iman Sims. Tierney Ellen Smink. Alexander Park St. John. Macklin Phillips Steele. Haewon Suh. Elizabeth Macy Sweeney. Michael Angelo Timmons. Henry Bridgman Stanton Tweedy. Maya Jean Vernaza. Ashley Wong. Catherine Lan Wei. Elise Maxine Wenlet. Edward Nathan Winslow. Oscar Jha. Christopher Bohan Shu. Lauren Teresa Jihai Yoon. Kevin Yuen. Anya Rose Zubkowska.
As our senior class processes out, they'll be welcomed into membership in the Graduates Association, receiving their traditional class of 2024 hats. And after leaving the tent, the graduates will partake in one of the great traditions of Nobles. They'll be received and congratulated by their teachers, led by our most tenured faculty member, our Noblest, Mark Harrington. I am now honored to present to you the class of 2024 as graduates of Noble and Greenough School.